All right, this is going to be the highlights of the top 5 survivors. I hope you do enjoy this video. And if you do, please leave a like and subscribe as usual. And that's going to be it. Enjoy the video. I hope to see you after the video.
We are talking about top 5 survivors. And again, it's not someone who has survived something, but someone that you know has shown the ability to survive. Obviously, if you have, I got a couple hints in there. I put in a couple hints in there just in case you guys couldn't think of any. So you can see it on the overlay. Don't. Anyways, so you guys can start getting in your honorable mentions. My honorable mention is Dr. Ryan Stone from the movie Gravity. So Dr. Stone, she's up in space fixing the satellite and shit, right? She's with George Clooney. He's the commander of the ship. And then all of a sudden, debris, explosion, something happened. I'll be honest with you, I didn't pay attention too much the second time. But shit starts hitting satellites. Pop, 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 pop. All right, Ranger Swap, what's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is going to be the man, the myth, the legend, only simply known as the Big Boss. Or as he was known as when he was younger, Naked Snake from Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
To give a reason why this is an honorable mention for my survivor, hit Naked Snake's mission back in 1964, I believe. That's when he was, Metal Gear Solid 3 takes place.
Yeah.
He was stationed to basically do a covert operation that he was basically alone in.
I'm going to go with Mark Watney from The Martian. Another astronaut, someone else stranded outside of Earth. The only reason he made it slightly higher than Ryan Stone, although I think as far as action within the movie, Gravity has a little bit more of it because she's always fucking moving. Like I said, I would have been exhausted. I would have been dead ass fucking tired sleeping in the ship while as re-entering space. But Mark Watney from the movie The Martian, he survives. How long does he survive? I think it was like 18 months, basically on Mars, with nothing but his wits and his own shit to fertilize potatoes. Good survival skills, great astronaut, or the Martian, as it were. All right, Ranger Swamp, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be the parkour legend himself, Kyle Crane from Dying Light.
Okay.
In the world of Dying Light, it's a zombie apocalypse, but specifically this one city, and basically they got quarantined, so there's only one city full of zombies at the moment, but it's still a dangerous place to go. They got into a point where you do get vaccines to prevent yourself from turning. However, at the very beginning of the game, Kyle is immediately bitten, meaning that he now has to take antizin in order to prevent himself from turning. And the conditions of the city at night become worse because the more dangerous creatures start coming out. The stalkers, the hunters. You gotta deal with zombies that could spit acid at you. Overall, even though it's a very contained situation, it's very dangerous.
Quickly, before it gets picked up by Bellatrix, I am picking Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Now, she is a great survivor, obviously, because she was a champion 2-time. Wait, I don't think she officially won the second one because it was interrupted. But she is a 1-time champion. It's so funny though, Ranger Swamp, that as good as a survivor, she's a horrible protector because her sister dies.
Oh,
Spoil alert. But the movies have been out for years, so have the books. First of all, I think the storyline, the lore, excellent. Let's go with your number 4, Ranger Swamp, and it's a good thing you are going to announce what you have because there's a little hat there just for your pick.
Yes, my number 4 is going to be a bit of a fan favorite for many people. This is going to be Clementine from the Walking Dead games.
Yes.
And for those that do not know, Clementine right there, as you can see, as she goes from a child to, a older teen, basically, the zombie apocalypse happened for Clementine when she was only 8 years old, and she had to be taken care of by a man named Lee, who played much of a father figure role for her. And shortly afterwards, Lee would end up passing away. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And basically, she was left on her own when she was 11 years old to figure out ways to survive by season 2. And you just see her go through these really difficult situations as a child. Like, it's crazy to try to think of someone surviving a zombie apocalypse as a grown adult, but Clementine went through all this as a child.
My number 3 is the only one who seems able to handle aliens. Her name is Ellen Ripley. Now, she's had to deal with these fucking aliens over and over and over. And each time she's been able to hold her own and defeat the danger of the time. So what's fucked up? Think about this. I want Ellen Ripley to actually fight a predator, because a predator can't even hold its own against an alien. But she seems to be able to manage it. So, by laws of Pythagorean theorem, she should be able to kill at least 3 predators at the same time. Not even trying.
Oh.
That's why she's my number 3. I just think she's amazing. I think she's a badass. And she gets my nod in my top 3.
My number 3 is going to be, controversial opinions aside, Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yep.
And the reason why I picked Ellie as my number 3 has to do with a couple of things. One, he was actually born, let's say, 6 years after the apocalypse started, and the zombies in this world not only run, but they turn into some pretty terrifying looking monsters, not gonna lie, if left rotting enough. And having to survive through that, obviously a lot of people are going to get bit. Well, fun fact, Ellie is actually amongst those people who are bit. She's actually infected as we speak. And throughout the entirety of Last of Us, the whole reason you're on this mission is because Ellie's been bitten for 3 months by the time you meet her. But she's still alive and not turned.
Right, I'm gonna go on to my number 2, Ranger Swamp.
Got it.
Nico Robin from One Piece. Now, here's the thing. She's the only known person to have survived not 1 Buster call, but 2 Buster calls. I put her so high because, first of all, she grows up to be very gorgeous. Secondly, she's part of the Straw Hat Pirates. And thirdly, because she survived on her own as a child, and that's where you got the wanted sign, for 20 years on her own, in plain sight, with the Navy looking after her. The Navy that's full of super-powered individuals. And she was able to escape for so long. And then she finally learned that it's okay to rely on others, and that's why she became part of Straw Hat Pirates. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is a famous boulder puncher. His name is Chris Redfield from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And the reason why I chose Chris is because, like my other 2 recent picks, he's been through this since the beginning. He was called to investigate a mansion, trying to find a target who, maybe involved in some weird things, and he gets introduced to a bunch of zombies. This is prior to the zombies basically overcrowding the population in Resident Evil, so they had no prior knowledge on how to stop these creatures, and they got through that mansion alive.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Chris has been at basically the forefront of trying to stop these monsters or bioorganic weapons from making things worse. And along with other survivors, there are a few other characters I was considering, but one has not made enough appearances compared to Chris, who's been there since the beginning. The other one's possibly dead. So I can't really call her a survivor, unfortunately.
All right, my number one, my top pick is a pick that I read about way back when I was a young little. It's the first female that I thought, well, fuck, she could whoop my ass, or I could never do that. It's Karana from Islands of the Blue Dolphins. This story was written back in the 60s. It's based off a true story. This is a story about Karana, who was left alone on an island with her little brother, and they had to survive on the island. It was her home island. She was born and raised there, basically, but she was there alone, and she just had to do everything for herself. The reason I put it number one is just because it was one of the original stories where it just showed a different aspect, because even the story mentions like, oh, well, it's against tribe rules for a woman to make weapons, but she had to do everything. She had to she tried to kill a bull elephant seal. She had to go out in the sea. She went out in the sea for 2 days and then came back because the canoe was leaking. She had to fend for herself against wild dogs that were on the island. Her brother died. His rib got torn out by the wild dogs. Woo. So she's basically alone for 18 years. 18 years. 18 years. Anyways, I love the book. I'm rereading it as we speak. I got halfway through. She does befriend the alpha male of the wild dogs, and she names the dog Rontu. And if you translate it, it means the dog that literally ripped out the throat of my little brother, but I forgave it anyways.
All right. Now, for my number one. This one. Okay, this is going to be a crazy one. His name, some of you may know it, is Kazuma Kiryu from the Yakuza series.
Yeah. For
those that don't know, Kazuma Kiryu is a member of the Dojima clan. He is a Yakuza member, and he is known as the Dragon of Dojima. He is the person they go to solve all their problems. And even when he wants to leave the Yakuza, they still come to him because he's the only man that can get the job done. Kazuma has been tortured. He has been put into fights where there are armed gunmen against him, where he's been stabbed, brutally injured.
Yeah.
And while many people believe him to be dead, he still pushed on. And majority of the fights, Kazuma goes in using only his fist and whatever he could grab in the nearest environment. Kazuma does not prepare himself with any weapons, and he still gets through every single situation alive.
Yeah.
And if you think that isn't impressive enough, there is a game out there called Yakuza Dead Souls.
Okay.
And what happens in this game is, you'll never believe it, a zombie apocalypse. And guess what? Kazuma, along with 3 other Yakuza members, are the ones that not only when the zombie apocalypse starts, they're the ones who end the entire zombie apocalypse before it spreads even further. The zombies are in that game only and die at the end of the game. He not only, as Ultra says, solves all the clan's, failures, he stopped the zombie apocalypse, he survived being tortured and shot many times, and he still goes on.
And that was the list of the top 5 survivors. If you felt there was a survivor that could have been added to the list, please do leave a comment below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.